Hi, I'm John with Vista Send Solutions, and today we're going to talk about how to integrate APIs with our existing API gateway. So in previous videos, we've talked about how some of the characteristics of an API gateway are to provide details, to route through to different endpoints, and we're going to start combining those into various combinations. So what I've got up for you right now is a policy. We're hooked up to our Layer7 API Gateway right now, and I've got a policy that does a pretty standard request response based on the HTTP method. So we have the two standard HTTP methods. One is GET, one is POST. So when a browser navigates to this API gateway, immediately they will get routed to the GET response. And that is because all browser actions are GET requests by default. So we look in here, compare variable. If the HTTP method is GET, we will do this. And this is returning a form that's going to route back to user lookup as a post. We are going to look up a user. We are going to provide that user as a username field. And then we have our submit button. So pretty standard form. If you'd like to pause the video so you can see this, copy it off as you need. We'll leave it here for a couple seconds. Coming into our endpoint, we can see very easily that this is looking for a user. Now we don't know what type of user this accepts. We don't know anything about this, but when we do hit something, we know that when we hit that submit button, because of the template response, we are going to send a post action back to this user lookup endpoint. And so user lookup's endpoint as a post method is going to come down here and set the context variable username from the parameters that we passed in. And then it is going to send back essentially the same form, but we have a little bit more information here. As it stands, there's not a lot that happens here. We see a little horizontal row, and that's about it. We can put some other information in there. We're going to get the same response. So this is how most endpoints start on the gateway. They have this concept, this framework of what they'd like to accomplish, but they don't have the information needed to make the final decision or send out the right information. So that's when we use third-party APIs. Now, rather than try to integrate and find some free API service, I just created my own. So we have this third-party integration service, we can see here. And what ends up happening in this policy is we're going to treat this like a third-party API. So we are going to send a request to that, we are going to receive a response, and we are going to use that information. So going through, there's some very important parts of this policy, and I want to make sure that we really step through what this policy is doing, because these are things that we use frequently in other policies and other services that we create. The first policy that has really any sort of effect on this particular API is the evaluate regular expression. So regular expressions, or regex, are used heavily within Layer 7 and pretty much all computer string processing. So what we have here is I'm actually going to do a regex that takes all of the information after the third-party lookup and place it into a username. And so what we can see here is we have this context variable, and this is a great representation of a regular expression assertion as well, where I take the request URL that gets passed in, I strip out everything before the third party, and I'm going to put that into username. Layer 7 has a great regular expression tester, so we can see what some of that looks like. So if I put in So if I start putting in the third party, you see we don't have any sort of matching. Once we start putting information afterwards, that's when we start matching. Now, because of the way this regular expression is laid out, we won't see anything highlighted in the group itself. So the parentheses are representative of a group. And so we will be capturing that in the results of the regular expression. There are some ways and some reasons where this test will come in handy. For this, because we're doing groups, it's a little obfuscated what's actually going on. So other than that, we'll proceed down further. We have another assertion that we use quite frequently, and this is called map value. So this is going to work as a key value pair. And so what I mean by that is if there is a variable or a string that you are trying to find and combine with a value or an output, this is a one assertion way of doing that. So you can have a bunch of comparisons. You can have a bunch of if this, then that, else if this, then that. This map value takes all of that guesswork out, and more importantly, all of that complexity out. So we will look at the map value assertion, and we can see here that we have a couple different potential values that are already mapped. And so we've got my username, first name John, last name Shent, role Layer7 expert. We also have an admin role. First name is admin, last name is admin, role is admin. So pretty standard admin capability there. And then we have Nunya. His last name is business, and his role is read-only. So if this is none of your business, then that's the string you're going to get. And so we see after that value, we set the context variable role string as user, the error was not found. We do that because in this policy logic, if map value does not return a response, or if this username variable is not found in this pattern, then we will fail this assertion. So because this is in at least one assertion or an OR statement, if this doesn't happen, then we have this role string as the user is not found. Assuming the user is in here, we will set role string to whatever the result is. So in Python, this is a dictionary. There's lots of different key value lookups for various programming languages. So this is another example of that. And so then finally, we return our template response, which is the username is associated with the following record. We send that role string. So this is an example of an API. This is someone sending us a request with some data. We are sending a response with different data back. That could be more information. That could be maybe a transformation. The whole purpose of APIs is to write whatever you need to make sure that you have the information you need to get stuff done. So the other bit of information is in a typical third-party API, we would not have this level of detail. We would have maybe an API documentation, something that says maybe in a Swagger doc or something similar, that if we put in a username, it will spit out a string. There may be some sort of testing capability, so we can test this at will. So now we've got two parts. We've got this user lookup, which really doesn't look up a user. And then we have a third-party user lookup, which doesn't have any sort of form value. So now we have to combine these together. We have to merge these. And so where we could essentially just copy paste this into our post lookup, that would really kind of take the spirit out of third-party lookups in general and integrating with other APIs. And so what we're going to do instead is create a route. So like we've talked about before, a route is an easy way to request some other part of the internet. So there's going to be some URL here. In this case, we are going to use the same URL that we are on right now, the same node that we're on, the gateway. And we're going to go to a third party. And because this is looking up things after that third party string, we are going to say the username. When the user submits their post request or their form submission, to come in here, extract that username, send it to this third-party API, which is really not a third-party API today. And then we can output that response here. And so let's save and activate this. And if we do a Shent-J, we see, oh, we got the response from our third-party integration service. So we can look at third-party lookups for various users. Now this is similar to LDAP. This is similar to a lot of identity providers. And so what we can use from this is a little bit more policy logic. We can determine what this response should be based on their role. We can look at some more information about them, and maybe this isn't a return template response at all. Maybe there's additional policy here. And maybe we just want to see all the users that are in this map, or get a little bit more information about users who are coming to our system. So again, this is all in the interests of getting more information, being able to make more relevant decisions and more efficient decisions. So ideally, you would have a lot of APIs that you're integrating with based on the function, so you're not having to recreate the wheel and constantly have to write the same thing over and over. This is all done for code reuse and modularity. When I first started out, we had a lot of copy paste, we had a lot of duplication, and I think if we would have taken a step back and split out our APIs in this way, we would have had a much easier time with a lot of our policy development. So here you can see, even if we put in a YouTube user, which we know is not in that map value at all, we can see that YouTube is associated with this error, user is not found. So future looks from this is we would actually probably not have more plain text associated with this. We would probably just return the role string, and then we would leave that up to the user lookup how they want to handle or parse that information. One other thing I did want to bring up is that right now we're using the default response main part from this. What we can also do within this HTTPS assertion, or the routing assertion, is we can change the response destination. And so we can create our own message variables, which can then get routed different ways. If you wanted to, if this third-party integration service was behind some sort of authentication, whether that's an API key or a firewall, if that API key isn't presented within the route itself, you do have the ability to, with Layer7, add some username password credentials. So you can go basic authentication. If you have OAuth, they do have the ability to insert token variables, which is a much more deep dive into your particular integration. And then if you wanted to pass all this information through with headers, you also have that information. So the ability to integrate and use other APIs form factors in order to achieve the desired result is very simple through Layer7. So once again, my name is John Shent. I'm with VistaSense Solutions, and I want to thank you all for being a part of this video. If you have any questions, feel free to throw them in the comments. Give us a like and subscribe, because that certainly does help. And feel free to visit us at our website or contact us through our email. You have a great day.